Hi, my name is Ben. I go by Plasma Kuno online, and I just won the RIW February tournament. This is going to be my deck profiles. I got these by luck.
And
that's awesome.
Kind of won a box and won a diamond.
Yeah,
I like it. All right, Ben.
Good day.
Show us what you did.
Yeah,
what you brought today.
So today I was using my Helix deck, similar to what I was using in November, but with a couple notable changes. First one being, in November I was running Tertonium Ultra instead of Hydorous, and now Hydorous is here, so we're using him. The other two that we were using are Krakolios Ultra in Darkus and Vicerox Core in Pyrus. Now, Vicerox, you might say, is an interesting choice because it doesn't naturally get a boost from Helix cores like the other two do, but it has a really strong B power when you're in Fury. And the other thing that's nice about that is I don't have a lot of the powerful draw cards in Aquos like Strata or Resurgence's Shun. And so Vicerox being a Fury Bakugan kind of works with that. I don't need to have the draw power that Aquos normally supplies. In terms of cores, I was running 2 gear cost -2s in the green fists. I was running 2 of the 500 -1s and 2 of the 600 -3s. The -3 600s are really nice because you're competing with magic shields in terms of power gain, but if you land on it with Krakolios, even in his evolved form, he's going to be doing almost no damage. Either way, if he's in his base form, he's not doing any damage, but in the evolved form, you're down to 1 on the 600s. So I didn't want to go full on with the 600s, and thus the split there. Now we'll move on to the deck itself. Starting with evolutions, I'm running 3 copies of Hyper Vicerox Ultra, or not Ultra, just the core. Just a nice little boost to your B power here. Technically, you're not getting on-curve B power gain, you're only getting 300 for 2, but you're picking that up in the damage, which is really nice because this deck struggles with damage otherwise. It's also a 2 cost, which is really nice to have. I'm running 2 copies of the Hyper Krakolios Ultra, mainly because it's a 3 cost, it's also not getting an on-curve power gain, and I felt like 3 was just a bit clunky and I could use that card slot a little bit better elsewhere. In terms of gears, I'm only running 3 copies of 1, and that's the Scorching Swords, which is really nice for a Helix deck. It's a good way to shut down Ventus because Shadow Strike prevents you from getting your B power dropped from their really powerful 1 for -500, but it also helps you not have to worry about the -3 on your own Helix cores there, which is why it's very nice. And when you're landing on your gear reductions, it's a free card, otherwise it's 2, which isn't too bad either way. Now, I think we'll start with Darkus because it's the shortest list of cards in the deck besides flips. Running 2 Chaotic Darkness and 2 Mind Slips. Basically, they're just ways to limit my opponents. Since I'm playing in Fury, I'm generally losing the card economy. This is a way to help me push back a little bit against that. Chaotic's a 1 cost, and Mind Slip also has a reroll, so they're also a little bit nice in terms of that. For Pyrus, we've got, naturally, the 3 copies of Quickfire. What would you be doing in Pyrus without Quickfire? The one little interesting bit of tech that I'm running, well, there's technically 2, but the first one is Firewing Blast. It's a 1 cost, super rare, +1 damage. If you're in Fury, it's +15 instead. It's a lot of damage. Even if your opponent gets a flip relatively early on, as long as you're getting 3 or more damage, you're still above curve, and the potential to just tear through your opponent with 15 extra damage is something that I really couldn't let pass me by. And so we're running 2 copies. I feel like 3 is a little bit too much, so 2 worked out pretty well. Played it a couple times and it did its intended function, or got stopped by flips, as one would expect. It's one of the 3 cards that I'm running that benefit from Fury. The next one we'll talk about is Fierce Boost, which is the easiest to explain. When you're in Fury, it's +600 for 2B or 2 energy. It's just good. It's not as good as Light's Courage, but it is above curve nonetheless. And the final card that I did not play a single time during the tournament is Anger, which is a card that I'm not 100% convinced on, but it has its purpose, and it has one purpose alone. You play this after you win with Vicerox so that you can get your hand back. Once you're in Fury, it's kind of hard to recover, especially if you're not playing a lot of draw power. Anger gives you an ability to do that, and because it's a Oh, it's not May. Never mind. Forget that. But it's a good way to recover from Fury after you've won with Vicerox if you need to. It's only slightly below curve in terms of B-Power gain. As I said, I never really played it, but it's there. So that's cool. The final Pyrus card that I was running was 1 copy of Cinder Coil. This was just mainly my thought was if I'm running against the Dragonoid instant win deck, I need a way to shut that down. I knew that Ivan was running BB Strata, and I did not want to have to be in a position where I'm fighting 2 Stratas on the field. I'm drawing 3 cards a turn. This was just my out to both of those scenarios. I also never played this, but it was there in case I needed it. Finally, we'll move on to Aquos, running 2 copies of Deep Dive. It's another reroll. It's a way to get some additional draw power if you need it, but it's not too overpowering. And I'm not running 3 because it fights Fury, naturally. Next up, we're running triple Dark Waters. It's good, that's all I need to say. Triplicate of Tides, it's also good, not much to say. 2 copies of Blinding Ink, it's what Monty had on hand to trade, but I also feel like 3's a little bit clunky for this deck, especially because you're not getting anything yourself, you're just stopping your opponent from getting something. I think the 2 was good, it had some times where it was pretty useful, and the other times it just energized it. And the final action cards that I'm playing, Triplicate of Wave Slash. Surprisingly, didn't use it as much as I expected to this tournament, but it's there and it's big numbers, so always a good time. And finally, my flip cards, I'm only running 4. 1 copy of Pact of Darkness, 1 of the Darkus Outsiders, 1 of the Aquos, and then 1 Mysterious Mists. Now, going into the tournament, the one very last-minute decision I made here was to switch a Cease Outsiders to Counter Outsiders, Darkus to Aquos, because I was expecting going in to not see a lot of Darkus, but when I got here, I saw people messing around with Darkus in just some friendlies beforehand, and so I was like, we're going to switch to this just in case. That way we have something to stop Darkus, otherwise I don't. Mysterious Mist is good just because Pyrus, Chaos, and Aurelis are 3 of the strongest attributes right now. It's a 2 cost as opposed to the others. And finally, I'd like to give special note to Pact of Darkness in this deck. Obviously, we know it as the strongest flip card in the game. Being able to just discard for 1 instead of paying any energy is fantastic. But in Fury, you have to be a little bit more careful, because if you're in Fury, you're not playing Pact of Darkness for its 1 discard effect. So you have to be kind of careful with that. I think if I had another copy of Pact, I might switch the other Outsiders to Pact, but there is a case to be made to not be running Pact in a Fury deck. Anyways, that's my deck. That's what I used to win the tournament, and thanks to RIW for hosting the event. It's always a good time to make my way out here and play some games.
Awesome, Ben. Well, congratulations on February, and I'm sure we'll see you at another one here soon.
Absolutely.
Have a good one.